Hello, real estate agents, and welcome back to yet another video series. If you're a real estate agent who is simply tired of wasting your entire marketing budget just to receive leads that have fake contact information, they're looky-loos and tire kickers, maybe they have other real estate agents, or maybe they just can't qualify for a Starbucks coffee, and all you truly want is a consistent pipeline of ideal clients, then this video series is for you. In the next 3 videos, we're going to be covering the 3 biggest hurdles that real estate agents typically face when it comes to the quality of their leads and exactly how you can overcome those hurdles. My name is Mason Armbruster, and I'm the president and founder of Constant Closings, a real estate-specific marketing company that helps our agents across the United States add an average of 3 additional clients a month by filling their pipeline with hot inbound phone calls and live transfers with leads that are pre-filtered for them. Through the years of doing that, we're becoming very good at identifying the 3 biggest hurdles that you need to overcome and figuring out how to overcome them. So I want to dive into that today. Firstly, let's talk about what those 3 hurdles are. They typically play out in this exact order. The first is bad data, meaning receiving bad phone numbers, bad emails, or partial contact information. Then your next thing you typically run into is looky-loos, tire kickers, and people that simply submitted the form because they were curious about the pictures of houses that they saw on the internet. And then the third thing that you typically run into is people who already have other real estate agents, people that are in very low price points, or people that just quite simply looking for something that you're not willing to offer. So for instance, they could simply be looking to rent, even though you only work with typical buy and sell versus working with renters. So in each one of these next 3 videos, we're going to be covering each one of those topics respectively. This one, of course, we're going to be talking about the bad data issue and exactly what you can do to overcome it. Let's jump right in. When it comes to the bad data issue, there's about 4 or 5 things you can do to make sure that you minimize that issue. Some of those things are on the front end, and a couple of those things are on the back end. Now, when I say front end, I'm referring to everything that you can do prior to that lead actually typing in their information and clicking the submit button to actually maximize the chance that they're filling out not just all of their information, but correct information. Now, when I say back end, I'm referring to things you can have in place on the back end that once they've submitted their information, you can verify that they have submitted real contact information. So let's dive into the front end first. The first thing that you can do is you can properly leverage your forms. Most online advertising platforms have 2 different types of forms. The ones we're going to show on the screen here are examples from Facebook, in case you are running advertisements or a lead gen company is running advertisements on Facebook or Instagram for you. Now, the same logic applies though, both for YouTube, TikTok, and those other platforms as well. What's important, not so much is the platform, but what you can do with the forms that you have at your disposal. The first type of form is a high volume or more volume form. The cool thing about these forms is that they make it simpler for the client or the potential client to actually fill out their information. Meaning what it'll do is when it gets to the part of the form where it's time to put name, phone number, and email in, it'll actually autofill that information for them based on the contact details that they have assigned to that account that they've already signed up with. Meaning if they already have a name, phone number, and email associated with their Facebook or their Instagram account or their YouTube account, when they get to that part where they need to fill out their information, it'll already be pre-populated. So all they have to do is click the submit button. The cool thing about that is it lowers the friction of what they need to do because they don't have to manually type it out. And there's a higher likelihood that you'll receive all of that information, name, phone number, and email. Now, the only potential downside to this is that there is a chance that those individuals could have signed up with an old email or an old phone number if they created their account for that online platform years ago, like I did with Facebook. Since then, I've changed my phone number, so if somebody did that with me right now, they'd probably get the wrong phone number and ended up reaching the wrong person. So each has its pros and cons, but we recommend, because of that, split testing this form against this second form we're going to talk about now and simply see what works best with your ads. Again, the pro with this option is it lowers friction, autofills the data, so there's a higher likelihood that you receive all of the information you want, name, phone number, and email, rather than partial data, but there is that small likelihood that it could submit a wrong phone number or wrong email, depending on when they created their account. So the other form that you can try out to make sure that you minimize bad data and you can split test against this other type of form on your advertisements is what one would call a high intent form. This is a form that does the opposite. It purposefully adds more friction and more questions and more steps to make sure that we're confirming that they've submitted the right information. Now with these ones, it's going to manually request them to fill out and type in their information, or it could autofill, but if it autofills, there's going to be a review page later on in the process, as you can see in this example here. So this form will still autofill the information, name, phone number, and email, but there will be a review screen near the end before they click the submit button that will make them confirm that their name, phone number, and email is actually accurate. And if it is not, they can change it. Some high intent forms from the get-go will not autofill. It'll simply make them manually type out their name, phone number, and email. So the caveat is there is a chance you receive less contact information, but the good news is that of the people that submit the information, there's a higher likelihood that it is the right phone number or it is the right email because we had that extra review screen there. So that's the first step that you can do, properly utilizing those forms on those online platforms. The second thing that you can do has to do with the forms as well, but this is just a little trick that I would like to suggest that we do for our clients to ensure that you're getting the right type of contact information based on your ideal outcome. Now, what I mean by that is, in our case, our whole goal is to get all of these leads for our clients on the phone so then we can filter out the best ones for them based on their lead qualification factors, and then we can live transfer them to our client or book an appointment on our client's calendar. So knowing that's the case, it wouldn't be the end of the world if we receive partial contact information, but we would rather receive a real phone number rather than receiving a real email. Or rather, if we had to receive one piece of bad data, we'd rather receive a bad email than a bad phone number because we're trying to get as many people on the phone as possible. And so since those phone calls hold the highest priority for us, we want to incentivize something on the form to make sure people have a higher likelihood, if they're going to fake any information, that they fake the email rather than the phone number. So what do? Well, we recommend using this hack here. As you can see on the form, you can customize the question portion. So instead of filling out something that above their name, phone number, and email block that you're asking for that information and saying, hey, put in your information to receive more info, or put in your information to receive X, Y, and Z, that's not specific enough. You can use a little trick like we do, and you can say, where should we text the details? And what does that imply? It implies that we're going to send that information through text. So if they truly want the offer, if they are going to submit any bad info, it's better to submit a bad email because at the end of the day, they want that offer, right? So if you say you want to text the details, you're incentivizing the behavior that you want, and that is filling out the proper phone number. So just a little trick that we used, I would recommend doing it. We increased our amount of phone numbers by upwards of 10 to 15% just with this little hack here. And if you're generating a high volume of leads, like the hundreds of leads a month that we generate for our clients, that can mean a big difference. So steal that hack, say where should we text the details, and then go from there. Now, there's a second part to this hack. You also want to incentivize the information that you want to be submitted by making sure you stack up your question blocks in the right order. What I mean by that is, as you can see on the form here in this video, we typed out where should we text the details, but most forms will auto-populate by having the email block first, then asking for their full name, then you can add in their phone number below. What we recommend doing is reordering them rather, in the priority that you want to receive. So what we would typically do is we add the phone block to that. So we receive email, full name, and phone number as well, but then we restructure them so they'll put their full name in first, then their phone number, which is the next important thing to us, and then the email, which is the least important. Now, we still want it if we can get it, but in terms of priority, again, in our case, the priority is to get those people on the phone, and it probably is for you as well. So just a couple hacks that you can use there. And lastly, the thing that you can do to overcome on the front end receiving bad data is to simply provide more value. So if you're throwing out offers out there that just are not as enticing as they should be, or something that's not all that great, that would incentivize people to put in the wrong information because they don't truly want what you have to offer. But if you're really providing a lot of value and you're putting a great offer on your advertisements and you're customizing your advertisements and your offers to what you're actually looking to do as a client, like we do with ours, then there's a much higher likelihood that they'll fill out the information, because the more they actually want what you're offering, then the higher likelihood is that they'll actually submit their real phone number and their real email and their real name. So those are the first three things that you can do on the front end. Now let's talk about what you can do on the back end. On the back end, there's really one thing you can do, because at that point, they've already submitted their data. So it's too late if they've already submitted a wrong phone number or a wrong email or a fake name. But what you can do is avoid wasting time following up with the people that did submit fake contact information. So you're not reaching out to a fake number, a bad email, and then you're simply wasting time and resources. And the one thing that we do in our instance, and that I would recommend you do as well, is you can find a software like ours or other ones online that will allow you to scan for bad contact information. And I want to pull up an example on the screen here. As you can see here on your screen, the software that we've created, that we leverage for our clients and that we use on a daily basis, allows us to toggle on these switches so that we can mark fake emails and fake phone numbers so that we don't waste time and resources either trying to send outbound messages to them or spending time on the phone trying to call them, whether it's somebody like our sales agents doing it for them or if the real estate agents are doing this for themselves. So the first option that we have is to mark those emails. So if a fake email comes through, it'll mark it in red and it'll let us know that we no longer want to send information. And I'll actually disable the ability to send future emails to that address because we know it's invalid. At the same time, we also have this other checkbox here, this other setting that allows us to validate phone numbers as well when a contact is created. And basically what it'll do, it'll validate that the phone number is true and it's a real number whenever the first text message or the first call goes out that's automated so that we can know whether it's a real phone number or not. So then again, this is not going to take away the fact that somebody may have submitted bad information, but what it will help you do is recoup lost time that you would have otherwise wasted trying to reach out to these individuals, not just time, but also resources, especially since these outbound messages cost money. So that's a last little hack. On the front end, you have the three options that we mentioned a second ago. And on the back end, you can put a software like this in place after they've submitted their information to make sure that you're not wasting time or resources if there are a handful of individuals that are doing that. Now, I will say this software has helped us out incredibly. In terms of a data point, the online lead gen space as a whole, not just real estate, but as a whole, sees about 20% submitted bad data, industry average. Meaning that for every 100 forms that are filled out on the internet, 20 are junk, meaning bad phone numbers, bad emails, fake names. Between the two tricks that we showed on the front end that we just went through a second ago and this software here, we have gotten that number to sub 5% for every single one of our clients across the US. So do not underestimate the capabilities of those two little tweaks and a software like this. That means for every 100 leads that you receive, 95 or more of those 100 leads all have real name, real phone number, real email. It's incredible and it works incredibly well for our clients. So don't underestimate that. So just to summarize, those are the 4 or 5 different things that you have at your disposal to make sure that you're minimizing the amount of bad data that you receive. On the front end, you can leverage the proper forms, whether it's high volume or high intent. You can also, as a second option, use those form tricks that we talked about earlier. And as a third option, make sure that you're providing as much value as possible. The more value you're providing, the higher likelihood that they're actually going to want to receive that information from your offer. And the higher likelihood of that, the higher the chances are that they're actually going to fill out the proper contact information. And lastly, you can use a software like we just ran through like ours for our clients to make sure that you're not wasting time, resources, or money on reaching out to people that have already submitted bad information. So now that we've covered how to overcome the bad data issue, your next issue is going to be dealing with looky-loos and tire kickers. So if you found this video helpful and now you have the real name, phone number, and email, stay tuned to this next video where we'll talk about how to overcome the issue with tire kickers and looky-loos and make sure you're only speaking to people that you actually want to talk to. If you have any questions or suggestions about today's topics or our other videos, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you click that like button, click the subscribe button below, and ring that notification bell so you can be notified of all the future videos on our channel. And as always, thank you for watching.